Who would have thought that the line, "they should leave little children alone," would cause so much outrage and so much hypocrisy when somebody really just wanted to say, leave kids out of your own political games? And yet, it happened. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. 3 days ago, a popular esports caster tweeted out a response to a tweet that showed pro and anti-alphabet groups clashing outside of a Glendale school. Now, they clashed because the school board was debating whether or not to recognize Pride as an event within the school. Now, the group that clashed were made up of people who don't agree with this philosophy and the parents of the children. And they agree, and they clashed with people who do agree with this ideology, who weren't parents of those children. Do you see where a conflict of interest might just arise here? Now, they tweeted out, "This happened 4 blocks from my Overwatch League apartment. Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life." Now, I do agree with this sentiment. Let people love who they love. Let them live their lives the way that they are. I do have a massive caveat, though, and my caveat is, as long as they're consenting adults. If you are certainly the age that I am, then there's no denying that throughout my life, I have seen a growing tolerance to the alphabet community, people who are homosexual. I don't even like using that terminology because the alphabet community, the LGBTQ plus IA, whatever it is, that's not a group of just gay and bisexual. No. It's a political, ideological group that skews exceedingly to the far left. And you're only accepted into it if you share the same philosophies as them. I also believe that it's a group that started off with good intentions and has been massively co-opted over the last few years particularly, and now it's in a terrible state because we're seeing all sorts of degenerate stuff trying to be brought into it. Stuff which even people within that organization do not want to have into it. And I don't think I need to explain any further. I think we all know what I'm talking about here. I am a believer that you are born a certain way. I am a believer that you are born straight, bisexual, homosexual, whatever it is. But I do believe very much that this has to be an agreement between consenting adults. And I don't think that's too much to ask for, because even when it comes to heterosexual relationships, we do have very strict rules in the West. When it comes to that, there is an age of consent. And the reason why there is an age of consent is to protect both parties, both the male and the female, from the event in case one is pressured upon the other. And yes, you do discover your sexuality. And yes, you do like to experiment with other girls within your school, in my case, or, you know, boys or whatever it may be. So the age of consent is there as a protective device because at the end of the day, you're still kids. And yeah, you're going to experiment, and yeah, you're probably going to make mistakes. And sometimes you get forced into something or pushed down an avenue that you don't necessarily want to go down. It's there to protect. I don't know how many times I need to reiterate that. This is probably the safest point in the history of mankind that anybody who identifies as gay, bisexual, lesbian has the ability to live openly without fear of repercussions, without fear of being dragged out of the bed in the middle of the night, particularly here in the West. In other countries, not so much. The West is exceedingly tolerant, but there is a line that has to be drawn, and that line comes when children are involved. People get very protective of children, surprise, surprise, particularly parents. And when they see that their children are being used as political tools, because make no bones about it, Pride is now a political event. And why is it a political event? Because both government and corporations are fully backing and supporting of this, and they use it to manipulate and they use it to push agendas. The line with children, no. That's one that's way too far, and one that I agree with. It should be too far. So, Nickmercs from FaZe Clan, an esports competitor, replies to this tweet by saying they should leave little children alone. That's the real issue. Now, he's not saying, I'm anti-gay, I'm anti-LGBT, no. He's just saying leave kids out of it. Now, Nickmercs is a new father. He's got a little baby. I've seen pictures he posted on Twitter. Beautiful, beautiful kitty. Lovely smile. He's probably really enjoying fatherhood and getting to grips with fatherhood for the first time. And I absolutely agree. He's just talking about leave kids out of it. Let kids be kids. Let them just run around on the playground. Let them learn basic English, multiplication, stuff like that, geography, where stuff isn't. Let them just learn that stuff. They don't need adults' political ideology thrust upon them. When I was at school, decades and decades ago, but when I was at school, did I know the sexual orientation of my teachers? No. Did my teachers talk to me about their sexual orientation? No. Did my teachers discuss anything to do with their personal life? No. What were they doing? They were being a teacher. And if you are somebody that needs to confess whatever it is, you need to converse with your pupils about your sex life, your sexual proclivity, your personal life, then there's something wrong with you. You need adult friends. That's what you need. So Nick isn't in any capacity being anti this or that. He's just saying leave kids out of your political games. Leave them out. Let kids be kids. And that to me is not in any way, shape or form remotely a controversial statement. However, backlash has ensued because of it. First of all, the sportscaster rebutted with, who is this they and what terrible acts is everyone afraid of? Well, the they is clearly the people who are trying to make Pride an event within the school. So don't be disingenuous. You knew exactly what he was saying, but you're twisting it now. And what terrible acts is everybody afraid of? Well, I think that's obvious. From underage surgeries which have been performed on children, and the evidence is out there for all to see, to puberty blockers and other such things, which there is no medical evidence whatsoever to suggest that taking them and then stop taking them will just continue your natural progression of puberty. None. They, to me, are pretty terrible acts against minors. Minors who look to adults for sage advice and protection, not exploitation. Because they are too young, stupid, and naive to understand the ramifications. Because kids are not mature enough to understand. And kids aren't mature enough to make the right decisions in those areas. The vast majority. An adult is there to make decisions for their kids who are naive. And that's why we have an adulthood. Child, adolescence to adulthood. Because we deem at around 18 years of age that you are capable now of making your own decisions without the aid of an adult. No matter how good or how poor those decisions are. Because everybody makes good decisions in life and everybody makes awful decisions in life. But do you know what we call that? We call that life. That's what we call that. We call it growing up, and we learn from it, hopefully. And we do repeat some of the same mistakes over and over again, but sometimes we do learn and we do move on from that. They continue to reply with, I think/hope the goal of most of them is to reduce child self-deletions. This is done through acceptance and removing the stigma of feeling/being different. The reason why self-deletion is so high within the trans community is because they can't accept themselves. Society as a whole has been very accepting, particularly when you just look back at history and see all the hideous things that mankind has done to itself. But the one thing, the major problem, is when you feel that you're trapped in a different body, no matter what cosmetic changes you make, you still know exactly who you are because you know yourself. And that's where the major conflict has happened. And that's why there's such, sadly, a high self-deletion rate within that community, because they can't accept themselves. And the self-deletion rate does not diminish post-surgery. It's pretty much identical to pre-surgery. Nobody can make somebody accept themselves. We can provide as much mental health care as possible, but it's always going to be up to that individual. They finish off by saying, as a dad, I'm struggling to see the harm. Gay doesn't equal Fredo. Well, that's just the problem. And particularly when the organization itself is beginning to fracture. And we're now getting LGB without the T starting to grow in numbers because they believe the T onwards has co-opted the organization, particularly when one of the groups of people that they want associated with Pride happens to be MAPS, which of course stands for Minor Attracted Person. If that doesn't ring alarm bells with you as a parent, I fear for your child. And these are parents who are very protective of their children. They don't want an organization, certainly one which is now politicized, being pushed upon their kids in school. They just want their kids to grow up and have a childhood. It's not too much to ask for. A day or so later, this tweet here. It appears Activision Blizzard has removed the Nickmercs bundle from the Warzone and Modern Warfare 2 store this evening. Activision has not commented on why it has been removed, but the removal of this bundle comes a day after Nickmercs' recent comments about the Alphabet community. Well, actually, to correct you, his comments were about children, not the Alphabet community, and just leave kids alone. So Call of Duty, part of Activision Blizzard, of course, they respond by saying, due to the recent events, we've removed the Nickmercs operator bundle from the Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone store. We are focused on celebrating Pride with our employees and our community. Wait a minute. Activision Blizzard, is this the same bunch of employees that you for years have been sexy time harassing? Let's have a look at this article. 2021 from Polygon. Activision Blizzard, how a frat house workplace led to sexy time harassment lawsuit. Then what happens a year or so later from The Guardian? Judge approves Activision Blizzard's $18 million settlement over sexy time harassment suit. And then we have another one. Activision Blizzard is once again being sued for sexy time harassment. And then what else do we have? Activision Blizzard will pay SEC $35 million to settle claims of sexy time abuse and sexy time harassment. That virtue signaling tweet was brought to you by the same people who had the infamous Cosby suite at their conventions, where women would go to party with the higher-ups, and maybe if you impressed your boss, and yes, that's in massive parentheses, allegedly of course, then you could be on the road to promotion. Hey Alex, how you doing? Where are you now, buddy? Oh yes. You were quietly, after multiple complaints, shown the back door with a nice, no doubt, golden handshake to boot. Brought to you by the same people that banned a Hearthstone player for supporting human rights in Hong Kong, initially banning him for a whole year and taking away his prize money, which added up to approximately $10,000, only under pressure from people? Did they reduce that to 6 months and reinstate his monies? Brought to you by the same people that were so out of touch with their PC-based audience that they went up on stage at BlizzCon, tried to push a mobile phone game, and then spoke down to them when it was rejected.
We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a fully fledged Diablo experience on mobile.
Massive shocker, it released to be a huge cash grab. You could pay $100,000 to get all the best stuff in the game, or you could grind for 10 years. Your choice, I guess. Brought to you by the same people that fired around 920 staff right after they had announced record profits. Brought to you by the same people who appeared on the list of most overpaid CEOs, and a company that even after sacking all of these people paid themselves hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses amongst just a few of their executives. Brought to you by the same company that paid so little in tax, we as individuals even paid more, as they started to become investigated for tax irregularities involving tax havens abroad from where they actually function as a company. And the bridge that was too far for this company was leave kids alone. If you haven't already got it, folks, I'm clearly demonstrating to you that Activision Blizzard is a scum company full of scum. They don't care about you. They don't care about your customers. All they care about are their profits. They don't give a shit if you're straight, gay, black, white, magenta, burnt sienna, or indigo. They just want to monetize you. They will jump aboard any cause that has the backing of other corporations and governments. They will receive any money from any quarter, and they will treat you like shit throughout the whole process. Even the greatest streamer of our time, Dr. Disrespect, and that's a hill that I'm prepared to die on, Champions Club for life. Had enough of this and couldn't believe how Activision Blizzard had treated Nickmercs, live streaming him uninstalling the game. A game, by the way, that he's had multiple problems with, and a company that he's also had multiple problems with.
If you don't know the news, yesterday at Call of Duty, Activision made the decision to pull Nickmercs' skin and bundle off the game. I mean, to get your own skin and be one of the first to do it, that's such a massive accomplishment. He's a great representation of a streamer gaming. So what we got to do is uninstall the game.
There is something massively concerning here, and I don't mean Bobby Kotick, former CEO of Activision Blizzard, appearing in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. No, I'm referring to the very sensible reply from a gentleman saying, why don't we just leave kids alone and let them be kids, huh? And yet that was received with such vitriol and anger. It's as if it touched a nerve. I'm sure Activision Blizzard's response has absolutely nothing to do with their new ESG policies, which they've adopted within the company. Something, by the way, that even Elon Musk says is the devil. And I couldn't agree more. If you have a problem with leaving children out of your sexual identity politics, that's not my problem. In actual fact, you're not somebody that I remotely want to have any sort of association with whatsoever. When you're 18 and you're an adult and you're capable of making these decisions of your own accord, do what you want. It's your life, it's your body. But until then, adults are seen as a responsible force for looking after and protecting their children. And if you don't want to do that, there's something seriously wrong with you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.